everyone, my name is Kaikun6 and I'm here to do the 9th episode of Playlist Stories. And before we start with this week's episode, if you hear any type of background noise, just ignore it. I'm still trying to clean up the small room. Like, I still have a pile of clothes everywhere. I still have a pile of boxes over here. Like I said, I'm embarrassed of the mess that I have right now. So, believe me, you guys do not want to know about this, and something just fell right in front of me. This is great. So anyway, let's get started with this week's episode. As you can see, the title, Let Me Down by Limp Bizkit. I remember listening to this song so much when I was younger and then up until today. And the meaning of that song changed so much because I felt like when I was 18 years old, or when I was like younger than that actually, I remembered I had an idea of like the concept of love, I guess, and like falling in love. And and I thought, well, maybe I have an idea. And then by the time I listened to it, like now as an adult at 30 years old, I was like, yeah, like this song is so much more different, you know? Like the concept was so different. And all I remember was now every time I listen to this song, this reminds me of this certain individual, and I will talk about him. This individual happens to be my ex-boyfriend. And this is the one that I met before my husband. A lot of people knew him, okay? A lot of people knew him, especially my friends and family. But the ones, you know, here in Texas, you guys didn't know him, which I am glad y'all didn't, because I know what you guys will be capable of when it comes to this individual. And on top of that, there was like a lot of unanswered questions from my friends here in Texas that they mentioned, like I remember mentioning him to them, but I've never really told them like any details. So hopefully this video will answer some questions that y'all had. So this individual, I'm gonna call him by his nickname back in high school that everybody called him by, and the nickname that he had was Turkey, or my friend Choji called him Pavel. And yes, it is that same individual that you guys are remembering, at least from my high school friends. I dated that guy, yes, and it was a very interesting experience, at least. So, you know, thanks to my friend Choji, like I started calling him Pavel too in the beginning when he and we were friends. So it was kind of like a very strange experience after that. For me not calling him at that nickname no more, I started calling him by his other nickname, which, like, you know, a lot of people knew him by too. So, anyway, so I'm gonna go spill the tea now on this this dating experience. And even as of today, I still remembered a lot about him and some of the dates that, like, because it's easy for me to remember numbers, so dates were no problem for me to remember this. So it was just like, it felt like it was just like yesterday, basically. So Pavel, how I met him was through my friend Choji. And like, I knew of him in high school, but I've never really like talked to him. So, because at the time I was younger, like, you know, I was younger than 18 years old. So by the time I turned 18 and a few months after that, my friend Choji was like, hey, I'm in contact with Pavel, like he wants to hang out with us. So like, is it okay if we invited him over this upcoming weekend? I said, yeah, sure. Like, let's do it. And then so he brought him over to this one hangout that we had a whole bunch of friends at. But in the beginning, it was just me, Pavel, Choji, and another friend of ours, and I'm gonna give her the nickname M because that's one of her initials. So immediately, right off the concept, we were trying to get to know Pavel. We were actually hitting it off like really great friends, especially M. And then so it was almost and then like a few more people started showing up, and I think it was like the newer generation of the anime club. And then after that, like they went to like their little, you know, circle of friends, and then while, you know, all four of us were still hanging out and stuff. And this area was Stoner Park. So, and I mentioned Stoner Park to you guys before. So I don't know, Pavel really laid down the law basically in front of me and my friend M. And like, so he went to her first and was just like I really, like, I'm single and I'm ready to date and stuff like that. And she beat me to it. because at the time, my friend M, she was only 17 years old, and she was dating some other guy at the time. And, well, they dated and they broke up, and she was hoping they'll get back together again. So she was kind of, like, opening up, like, that chance, like, hoping that maybe she'll get back with the guy. Oh, God, I'm sorry. Anyway, so she said no, because she's like, I'm 17 years old. And he was like, fair play. So then he came to me and was just like, hey, like, he placed his hands down. All I remember, he was like looking straight into my eyes, and he was like, do you want to go out with me? And I just said, no. Why not? I'm dating asshole. He was shocked. He was just like, why are you dating him? And how did that lead to that? So I remembered Choji, M, me, we were talking to Pablo about, like, you know, how did that happen, and like how it led to me dating him. And he was just like, that still sounds wrong, you need to break up with him. And I was just like, no, I'm okay, like, I really like this guy and stuff like that. And then he made like this like declaration or something, or like he announced it. He was just like, by the end of the year, I will be dating you. And I was just like, no thank you, I'm okay. And then after that, like, he started kind of like exchanging phone numbers with everybody. Like, he did it with M, and then with me, and then to everybody else that was in that hangout that day. And boy, was it a really fun hangout, because honestly, every single one that was in that anime club, from the old generation to that new one that I gotten to know, like, everybody showed up, and it was like one of the best hangouts ever. I don't know, I felt like with everybody being there, it was like so awesome, because it was like we were trying to catch up, like we were old friends and stuff like that. So it was nice. So after that, of course, the day after that hangout, he messaged me. He immediately sent me a text. He was saying good morning and this, and I told him, hey, how you doing? And from there, we were just texting to each other. Like, it was really nice. I felt like he knew his boundaries, of course, but like he was still kind of like pushing that subject of like, you know, like, I still want to date you, and like I was hoping that maybe you will, so that way, you know, you and I can date, and this and this and this. Like, he was like telling me to break up with asshole for so long, and I was just like, you know what, maybe I should, because I haven't talked to him in like almost 2 weeks, and I don't know nothing about him, like what's going on with him. And he's like, yeah, you should break up with him. And then so after that, like, all I remember was this specific date, because that was like around the time where my parents went to go to Mexico, and my brother was left in charge, and me and my sister, we were just doing our own thing and stuff. So I remember this date really clearly, because like I said, I'm good with numbers. So December 18th, 2010, we had this little small, you know, get together at my mom's place at the time, and it was in me and my sister's room at the time. We were hanging out. My sister was like in the living room at the time, like watching TV. My brother was in his room playing video games, and like half of my attention was with like my friends, and then half of the attention was with my siblings, because they wanted to know what was I doing in a room with like 3 guys, basically, because my brother thought that sounded so wrong. But then he met the 3 guys that I will be mentioning, and my brother was like, oh, you know, whatever, like I know 2 of the 3, so, you know, whatever. So this particular hangout, it was with Babel, Choji, and Sparky. And my brother knows he knows Choji and Sparky, but he did not know Babel. So when he tried to introduce himself as, like, you know, he had some balls on him, you guys. He's like, I'm gonna be her future boyfriend. My brother wasn't phased. He was just like, not with me, bruh. My brother's like, nope. You ain't dating my sister, and you're not dating that one either. It's like, no, she's too young for me. I'm sorry, bro, but like, I love your sister very much. And I was just like, excuse me? He threw out the word love, and I was just like, that threw me the fuck off, you guys. I was just like, I barely even know you guys. Like, dude, it's like, but I love you as a friend. I'm like, this is too early, you know, whatever. Anyway, my brother was just not having it. He was like, fuck you, just go hang out with my sister. So then, but I was still worried about, like, what my brother and my sister were going to talk shit about me behind my back. So I was, like, paying attention. And then while we were hanging out with, like, you know, I was hanging out with my friends. So once in a while, my sister will, like, try to, like, kind of, like, update herself or something. And she'd be like, hey, what's going on here? And then whatever. And then Sparky was like, hey, come hang out with us. And she's like, fuck no, I'm just going to go watch some TV. It's like, oh, like, you're a buzzkill, whatever. So it was so funny. Anyway, so that day, I remember that day so specifically because of that hangout. Bobble just, like, he was, like, flirting with me for sure. He was like I want you to break up with asshole immediately so that way you and I can be together. And I was just like, I don't know, like I still really like asshole, and it's like, dude, no, you need to break up with him. So then so I was just like, okay, well, my young dumb brain was just like, I'm getting the attention that I want from Bobble instead of asshole, so I just thought that maybe it'll be the best. So I ended up breaking up with asshole over the phone, and which was a very dick move, but it had to be done because, like, I haven't heard from him in, like, at that time it was almost 3 weeks. So I had no idea what was going on. The only time I ever knew was, like, some updates on Facebook, but even then he'll ignore my messages or my comments on his posts. So after that, like, he and I just got together, like, me and Pablo, and I remember him kissing me, and, like, you know, in that bedroom, and that was it. And I was just like, okay, this is going way too fast. After that, things were really okay from there. Like, it was just very interesting because I felt like it was moving too fast. Like, he was already saying love too much, and then he made me kind of say it back or something, even though I had no idea if I knew that concept or not, because I felt like this was too fast. And then all of a sudden he started, like, showing, like, his feelings towards me, and, like, how, you know, yeah, he really felt about me. And then I was like, oh wow, so he really does, you know, love me or something like that. And then so after that December, it was like things went really well for us. Like, I don't know, it just felt really nice. Like, we started hanging out a lot with friends, and we were hanging out with, like, you know, like, by ourselves. Like, we even went on, like, one proper date, I think, and it was really nice. And then it came, like, the week of my birthday. He gave me a rabbit, some games, and a movie for my PSP 3000 at the time, because on that Christmas my brother gave me a PSP so I can play with, and, you know, I'll let my sister play it too. And it was really nice. Like, I remembered just I enjoyed having that rabbit. I remember saying that, you know, that rabbit is like our kid and stuff, and he was just, like, laughing. He was like, yeah. And then all of a sudden, just, it was going great from there, right? And then a few days later, just, like, a bomb just dropped on me, basically. I felt like it dropped on me, where I think it was, like, maybe March, like, I know it was, like, the first week of March for sure. He just didn't want to message me no more. Like, he just ignored me. He started ghosting me, and I was just like, okay, well, then I don't know what's going on. And then finally I got a message from him back, like, almost like that weekend of almost the second week of March almost. And so he was saying that, like, he was feeling depressed, this and this, and that he was planning on going to therapy. And I just said, okay, cool, like, go to therapy. And then he was like, yeah, but, you know, like, you know, what if this affects, like, our dating experience? Or, well, actually, he said our relationship. And I was just like, excuse me? What do you mean by our relationship? We're just dating. And he's like, did I not ask you to be my girlfriend? And I was like, no, not really. Why? And he's like, oh, because, like, I see you more than a girlfriend, and, like, I really want to marry you. And I was just like, what? Like, this is just too fast for me. Like, he literally proposed to me without a ring, and I felt like this is moving too fast. But, like, you know, things were really going well between me and him, so I just thought, okay, maybe I am in love with this guy. And he turned out to be my first love, so that's why. And then all of a sudden, just a week later, that was when he said that he went to, then, like, he messaged me, and he was saying that he went to his first therapy session, and things were kind of like, you know, progressing a little bit, or at least he thought it was. And then so he told me that he wanted to break up with me or something because of the therapist's, you know, like, advice and stuff, and that he should be dating, like, his niece. And I was just like, oh, okay, sure, like, whatever. So I eventually was just like, sure, like, we should break up. It's fine. We could just stop dating. And he's like, are you sure? And I just said, yeah, like, what's the whole point? We were just dating. It's not like we were boyfriend and girlfriend anyway. And he was like, but I did propose to you. I said, yeah, but you've never asked me to be your girlfriend anyway. And since now we're ending things, I don't think you'll ever ask me anyway. And so things went a little bit weirder after that, for sure, because it was like almost constant messages. It was kind of like he's reassuring me that we were still in a relationship, and even though he was already dating another girl. And I was just like, no. I told him, like, no, that's okay, we can just still be friends. No, I don't know. But anyway, this date I remember really well. March 24th, 2011 was the last day that I ever met him in person. I remember going over to his house because he said that he wanted to talk to me. He messaged me that morning and he wanted to hang out with me. He said he was going to be home alone because his parents were going to be out of town or something, and his siblings were going to be out for a while. So I was just like, okay, sure. All right. So, but there was a lot of things that happened in between also from March 24th and from December 2010, was that, like, we were having hangouts and stuff. Like, I got to hang out with his family and his friends, and it was like really good memories. Like, I really love his mom. It was like, she's a really sweet mom, but she was kind of like, you know, moving too fast also. It's like, I just hope you make my son very happy. Hopefully you guys are gonna get married and this and this. And I was just like, whoa, this is too fast for me anyway. And so I'm like, I'm sorry to break your heart, you know, Babos' mom. Like, that didn't happen. But I do hope that the current girlfriend that he has right now, like, hopefully she makes you happy. So anyway, so March 24th, 2011, I ended up, like, texting my dad. I was saying, hey, Dad, do you think you could drop me off at this address? And he was like, yeah, sure. So he dropped me off, and he was like, are you going to be okay? And I just said, I hope so. I really do hope so. And then he was like, okay, well, text me when you're done. And I just said, all right. But I remember telling my dad, like, what happened. And my parents, too, once they came back from Mexico. And they were just like, you know, you should just end things with this guy. And I just said, yeah, sure, I should. And that was the plan. I was like, I'm going to end things finally with him and see what happens. But let's just say a lot of things happened on that day for sure. So I remembered I showed up to his place. He was already in the front of his place, and then he led me to the backyard. We started discussing about, like, our dating experience, and, like, how he was, like, kind of, like, not regretting breaking up with me. And I was just like, you know, like, we were just dating. That's it. Like, we were never in a relationship or anything. But then he kind of, like, proceeded to say, like, yeah, but I felt like, you know, we could have been boyfriend and girlfriend. I just said, no, you know, like, it's okay. I don't know. I just felt like this is way too fast for me. And I don't know. Like, I felt like it was too soon for me to fall in love and this and this. And then he kind of, like, was like, yeah, me too. Like, I actually fell in love with you and this and this. And I was just like, okay, this is really, really strange. And of course, one led to another. Like, he started apologizing to me and this. And then we made out. Then we went inside his house. We almost had sex. And the reason why I said almost had sex was because of this clue. And I was naked and embarrassed after that because he could not perform. And so I put on my clothes, he put on his clothes, we left his room, and we were chilling in the living room, in his parents' living room at the time, like, as if nothing happened. So we were chilling. I think I was like 15-20 minutes later, his oldest sister came to the door just looking at us suspiciously and was just like, hey, were you guys doing anything? And it was like, no, we weren't really doing anything. I was just like, yeah, like, why? Even though it was neither the truth nor the lie. But she still looked at us suspiciously and was just like, hey, as long as you don't get caught by mom and dad. And I was just like, and in my brain, I was just like, nah, I don't think that's going to happen anyway. But anyway, then after that day, I felt even more confused, honestly, because after that, I went home and I told about this experience to, you know, my friend Choji, to my family and friends. My brother was not having it. I remember my brother and my sister, especially, they were just like, what the fuck? That is so confusing. Why would a guy do that to you? And I was just like, I don't know. So give me his address. I'll go kick his ass. Yeah, I'll go kick his ass. And I was just like, no, that's okay. So I remember after that, like, I felt even more confused. And then I started getting text messages from him again where it felt like he was emotionally and psychologically manipulating me, like, to thinking that we were kind of still together, even though I felt like we ended things that day. And then, I don't know, after that, it was just so crazy. Like, I decided to go through, like, this process of, like, grieving, because later on those messages were kind of like, I still love you, this and this and this. And I was just like, okay, whatever. But then it got to me really, really badly. Like, it got to me. Like, I remember I cried for almost a whole month because of this dude. And my sister cheered me up at one point. She gave me strawberry yogurt, and it's so strange. Like, she actually cheered me up with that. And then after that, there was like this moment, I think it was like after a month. I remember it was like, I think it had to be May already at this point for sure. Because for that entire month and almost a half, I was trying to get over the dude. And then I was talking with some other guys at the time. But I just wanted friendship from them. That's it. But they took it as like, oh, well, I want to date you. And I was just like, nah, bro, you don't even know me. And you live far. So no. But anyway, I was already May, and I was hanging out with these two people for sure, because these two people, like, meant a lot to me when we were hanging out and stuff. And they got to know some other people that were from the older generation of the anime club. So for them to, like, still want to hang out with us, it was just, like, so nice. Anyway, so so these two individuals, I'm going to name them Spark and Big T. So Big T and Spark, when they found out that I was crying because of Babel, like, when he, like, ended things with me and stuff, like, we decided to end things, but then it affected me emotionally a lot. Like, they decided, like, hey, we need to hang out. And I just said, sure. So we were walking around town and just I don't know, just like talking about what happened. And I told them everything that happened. I even showed them the text messages, the messages from Facebook, and this and this. Big T was not having it, and so was Spark. Spark was like pulling out the switchblades, and so was Tony. He was like, do you want me to go kick his ass? And I said, no. Like, you don't, like, he don't deserve that. He's like, no. It's such a dick move that he broke up with you over text messages, and then he never really gave you the balls, like, never had the balls to break up with you in person. That's just not right. And I was like, I know, but, like, he had his reasons and stuff like that. Like, I felt like he was like, I was putting the blame on me for some reason, and for sure, like, it wasn't. It was like, both of our faults like, as I was thinking about it at the time. And then, excuse me, and then, all of a sudden, just was like, Big T was not having it. He was like, nope, I need to go find this motherfucker, and I'm gonna go kick his ass. And I said, I know where he lives at, but I'm not gonna tell you. He's like, you better tell me. And then, all of a sudden, he got distracted with the fountain or the pool that was right in the middle of this trailer park. And they were like, oh my God, I want to go swimming. And I just said, I do know some other people that live here, but I don't associate with them anymore, except one. And he's like, oh, where is he? Like, who are you talking about? So at the time, it was one of my friend Ace's crushes at the time. And then the other one was female, because I remembered, I mentioned it before, with female, lived like a few columns away from Pablo's place. And of course, a lot of things has happened between those two individuals, and just they're not friends no more. So then when I said female, Big T was just like, oh, I remember that dude. That dude was so cool. Like, dude, I want to go smoke some weed with him. And I said, all right, let's go, you know. And Spark was just like, fuck yeah, let's go. So I was like, I don't remember the place that much, but I know it's between these three places. And so Big T was just like, I'm going to go knock on their doors. So he went to go knock on all the three doors that I remember where it was. And then by the second knock, female was coming out. And of course, he looked straight at me because he kind of ignored Big T and Spark. Like, he looked at me and he was just like, hey, how are you doing? I just said, hey, I'm doing good. What about you? And then, but he noticed, like, I had, like, you know, the redness from my crying, like, right here. So he was kind of, like, worried, you know. He was like, what's going on? So Big T and Spark told him what happened. And he felt bad for me, you guys, even though what he did was even more of a, you know, a dick move. So he was like, you want me to go kick his ass? And like, that's what I was saying, you know. I was like, let's go kick his ass, come on. He's like, I know where he lives at now. And it's like, no, like, he don't deserve it, you guys. And then a female was like, suit yourself, but like, you know, like, do you need a hug? And I was just like, no, I'm okay. Like, I need to just get over this process of me, like, you know, getting over, like, being dumped, basically. And so Big T was just like, well, I came over here to smoke some weed with you. You want to go smoke some? And female was like, fuck yeah, let's go smoke some. So then they started coming into his place, right? And I just stayed outside. And female told me, was just like, do you really want to come in? I just said, no, I don't smoke weed anyway, so I gotta go. And he's like, no, just come over here, like, let's hang out and stuff. And I was like, no, like, I'm okay. Like, I just need to go. And then he's like, okay, well then, do you want to, you know, you want to talk about it? And I just said, no, like, I don't need to talk about it with you. And he's like, okay, well, suit yourself. And then he just closed the door and I just left. I was like, I'm gonna go home. And I remember walking back to my parents' house. I was so sore because I think it was like a couple miles away from where my mom's house was. So I was just like, you know, I need to walk this out. And I remember by the time I got home, I took a shower, went to sleep, or at least took a nap, and then, you know, whatever. After that, I didn't got any messages from Pablo after that. Not really, if I could remember. But all I remember was Choji calling me, I think not that long after me and him ended things. And Choji told me that he experienced his first threesome the day after he and I ended things. And I was just like, are you kidding me? And Choji was just like, no, I'm not joking with you. Like, if you want, you can ask the other individual that had the threesome with Babel. And I was just like, okay, like, let me go ask her. And I remember I messaged her immediately. I went, hey, I heard you were, you know, with Babel at the time and with your cousin or something, whatever was, like, related to her in some way. And she was like, yeah, I was with him, but, like, we were just hanging out. Like, he just seemed really depressed. So I just thought, well, let me go cheer him up. And then, you know, one thing led to another. We had our first threesome. And I was just like, or he had his first threesome. And I was like, okay. And then I told her what happened. And she was like, I am so sorry. I had no idea. And I just said, nah, don't worry about it. It's just that we were just dating and this and this. So it was like, she was like, don't come up with your excuses. Like, no, what he did was really wrong and he shouldn't have done that. And I was like, okay, well, you shouldn't have sex with him either, but oh well, whatever. But then, like, I was petty. Like, I was really petty after that. Then what happened after that? then after that, I just like decided, okay, after hearing that experience, I'm not gonna text him or answer him no more. And I think he got really frustrated after that, because he started kind of like almost manipulating me again. And I was like, I'm not having it. And so I decided to block him on Facebook. And I think after that, I changed my number for sure. So he was no longer messaging me anymore. So then, not that long after that, for sure, because I remember that was when I started talking to my online friend. I'm going to call him by his real name because he knows who he is. And I like his nickname that he goes by, Scuba Steve. I like that. So I started talking to him, and then, we were like trying to get to know each other. And, he's like, oh, I'm from Huntington Beach. And I said, oh, cool, I'm from Ontario, and then this and this and this. So then, and then after that, like a week after me and him talked, that was when I met my husband. And then, the rest is history. And I could talk about, my husband in another episode, which I will. Then, eventually, one thing led to another. I went to go, meet my husband, and I'll talk about that experience in a different video. But after that, like, we went back to California to live like that. And then all of a sudden, when we moved here to Texas, that was the final message that I ever gotten from him. And the message was that hopefully, like, good luck in Texas. Hopefully, you and your husband will be, happy together. And I remembered, like, receiving that text message, and I was like, no, it was not a text message. It was a message on Facebook. I was so mad. And I remember I felt so many emotions. Like, I felt like all these memories of him flooded back into my brain, where it just hurt me again. And I was like, I'm not having it. I'm not gonna let him win over this or something. And so my husband was just like, do you still like the guy? And I just said, no, that's the thing. That's the problem. I stopped liking the guy because he really, like, hurt me, and I didn't want nothing to do with him anymore. And then he's like, well, it looks like you still do. And I said, maybe as a friend, and that's it. But I don't like him like I like you, And then my husband was just like, like, if you really want to go back to him, let me know. I just said no. Remember, we spent so much time already together, and how much we sacrificed a lot just for us to be together. Why would I want to throw that away? And he was just like, you're right. But still, that's fine. So then, after that, I started getting, like, constant messages again with him. But I don't know. I don't remember if I ever responded to that message. And if I did, it must have been out of anger, for sure. Because all I remember was just not hearing from him for a while. Then all of a sudden I started getting messages, like, almost yearly. But then I just thought that maybe it wasn't him, because maybe some hacker found his old profile and started messaging me. But all I remember was once it got too constant, I started blocking it. And then the new profiles that supposedly Pablo made was like, he started messaging me also through those new profiles. And then I was getting harassed. And I just remember blocking every single one of them. And then, sometime before, I think it was like before spring, was the last message I ever gotten from him. And he was talking about how he's really happy with his current girlfriend. I just said, I just ignored it, because I was like, I'm not gonna like feed into that, into that attention. And so, that was it. Like, that was my experience. Like, even as of today, there were still a lot of things that, I wish I could forget, and there's some other stuff that I'm kind of glad it happened, because it made me realize that, like, there was, like, some different forms of feelings for people, and especially at the time for a 19-year-old girl. And now, as a 30-year-old woman, I was like, well, I'm glad I got to experience it, because, like, thanks to him, it led me to my husband, and I'm very happy with him. I really am. I really love him. I haven't spent like these 11 years with him, together with him, and the 2 years of marriage that I had with him just for nothing, you know? So I'm really happy to be with him. So anyway, this concludes this week's episode, and I know this was a very long video because I told you guys it was going to be, but there was just so much I had to unbox, because there was just so much that happened in this short amount of time. And honestly, I wish I could have like shortened it a little bit more, but there was just so much that I had to go talk about. Like, I don't know, like, the one that still gets me as of today was like the nudes, I want to say, because I remember my friend Kay, at the time, I'm gonna nickname her Kay, like, she told me about the nudes, and I was just like, why would you do that? It's like, well, because I wanted attention from him, and he was giving me the attention that I wanted. I was just like, oh, okay, well, you gotten that attention from female too, and look what happened. And then she tried to do the same with my husband at the time, and then he's like, nope, not having it, block, basically. So then with Babo, it was really different, because he was like, oh, I don't know what to do. And I just said, well, she was 17 at the time when she sent those nudes, I think. And he was like, you're kidding me. I'm like, I'm not. No. And her birthday was not going to be until, like, it was before, I know it was before my friend M's, for sure. Because I remember her, my friend, Eric, I'm going to use his real name anyway. But he was known as a dependable black guy, so that nickname is never gonna, you know, go away for us here in the anime club, basically, all our friends and family in high school. But the dependable black guy, her, and female share the same birthday. So that's the one thing that it's like, I just can never forget, honestly. So when I found out that they all share the same birthday, I was just like, oh, that's nuts, you know? So then, but anyway, there was just so much to uncover. Like I said, it was just a lot of things that was like really hard to think about, because I was like, I didn't realize I even remembered any of this. And then there was some stuff that my friend Choji kind of like updated me on this old tea, but then I completely forgot, and I was just like, oh yeah, I forgot. And I was like, okay, I remember the threesome, I remember the nudes that came from Kiki, and then the part where he made me feel like a piece of shit while I was like in the last few weeks of that dating experience, and then after he and I broke up and stuff like that, or ended things. So I just thought, well, oh well. But anyway, I'm gonna stop rambling now. I know this video's been too long, and I gotta go do stuff anyway. So hopefully you guys have a lovely day and a lovely week, and I'll see you guys in next week's video. All right, bye everyone.